talk about the two biggest questions, right, that buyers and sellers have right now with the market. Hey, what's going on with rates? What's going on with inventory, right, Kate? I'm sure that you're feeling it a lot on your side. Buyers, sellers, should I wait? Inventory seems to be driving up prices on homes. Is there going to be more inventory hitting the market? So I'm going to turn it over to Kate. What are you seeing out there? And what advice do we have for our buyers and sellers?
So yeah, you hit the nail on the head. We are seeing probably the lowest inventory we've ever seen. And I feel like every time we have one of these podcasts, we're saying that, and then we're seeing less. And then there's a lot of rumors out there. So I guess, we'll try to squash some of them, but just to bring you some real numbers and not just to talk, inventory is low. What does that mean? Looking at 2020 Q4 to 2021, which we just went through, the number of closed sales are down because the inventory is not there. The median house price has gone up, and they are anticipating it continuing to go up. And these numbers are coming from NISAR. So these are New York numbers. And the houses for sale, we see 30% less homes on the market, which is huge. Just to give you an idea of month inventory, they have an MOI number, which when you look at that number, it basically means how many months do we have to burn through the inventory that we currently have on the market. So a healthy market is about 6 months of inventory. When you start seeing more of that, you start going into a market where you're not going to have to be so competitive. 2020, we saw probably around 3 to 4. It was 3.7 at the end of the year. We rounded out the end of 2021 at 2.3. So it's very, very low. In about 2 months, we could burn through all the inventory that's currently out there. And I think we see it. You probably see it in the offers, buyers making multiple offers, and we see it in the open house lines. The open house lines are wrapped around the block. It's very crazy. But I have a lot of buyers that are waiting, and they're waiting for the prices to come down, and they're waiting, for maybe the rates to drop, and they're waiting for the prices, really, like the market to crash. So I guess from your perspective, I'm hearing about a lot of delinquent mortgages and a lot of short sales and things that may be coming to the market. So what advice would you have for those buyers?
Yeah, so that's something that we get on our end a lot too. Is, hey, is it a good time to buy? Right, prices seem to be going up and up and up. Most people are thinking that it's some type of bubble, and we're going to see a burst, and these prices are going to come down. And a lot of people, or a lot of buyers who are real estate investors, are kind of comparing it back to 2006, 2007, before the financial crisis. Now, my advice to them is, that was a much different environment. So the financial crisis, there was much riskier lending practices going on. And what happened is when buyers were going into homes that they couldn't afford, but they could qualify for with those riskier mortgage products on the market, once they started not being able to make their payments, all of a sudden you had a flood of inventory onto the market that drove prices lower and then snowballed the problem, right? We don't really have a scenario like that right now. We do see some posts going up. We see some realtors talking about, the eviction and the foreclosure moratorium ending, and this surplus of short sales and foreclosures coming onto the market. The numbers, which are all available, don't really support that view. Delinquency rates right now are lower than they were before the pandemic. And the buyers who are behind on their mortgage payments have equity in their homes. So servicers are more likely to come up with a solution for them that does not involve selling the property, short selling the property, or foreclosing on the property. Listen, there's always going to be buyers who just aren't making their payments and are going to get foreclosed on. Could we see a small bump in houses hitting the market at the same time because of the moratorium? I would think it's probably more likely in other parts of the country. Here it takes a long time for that process to unwind. So I don't think we're going to see this big jump in all of a sudden bank-owned properties hitting the market. So we can't rely on that, right? Values and prices are going to be supply and demand. So right now, demand is super high. I think we have 70 pre-approved buyers out there looking for property. But there's, like you said, such a small amount of inventory that it's driving up the prices. And that problem really doesn't have a resolution in sight. We've been talking about low inventory for years now. I think it's been this time of year especially, all right? I feel like it's part of the conversation every year. It's like, oh, inventory is so bad, inventory is so bad, and it only seems to be getting worse, right? I mean, what are you seeing compared to last year? This time, January 2022 compared to January 2021, or even 2020 before the pandemic. What are you seeing on your side?
Yeah, I mean, overall, we're still seeing a gap. I mean, if you look at some articles out there, Morgan Stanley just put something out. They're saying 1.5 to 5 million gap nationwide in homes. There's just, we would need like 1 million homes to come to market. And that's homes being built on top of the inventory that we currently have. Clearly, we know we don't have the land here to build that many homes to supply the inventory that we need. But a lot of the buyers are waiting for these houses that are just, they're going to get kicked out because they're getting foreclosed on and maybe they stopped paying their mortgage during COVID. But I don't see that process escalating that quickly from a person who maybe stopped paying a mortgage 2 years ago.